Hi guys and welcome to episode 15 of Beat to the Punch. I'm joined on the line once more with Craig Smith. Craig, how's things?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing, Stephen?
Yeah, good man, good. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had a wee chat, so I'm looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, it should be good fun. Can't wait to get started.
Yeah man, so let's start off with last weekend's action, the Matchroom show. The Liverpool, Matchroom in Liverpool. It was probably the best card of the year so far for me. Some cracking fights on it. It was me and Nathan Dowie spoke about this last week. But probably the best fight of the night was going to be, well, the most anticipated fight of the night was going to be Anthony Fowler against Scott Fitzgerald. Did you see this fight, Craig?
Yeah, saw this fight. Thought it was a really good fight. Fowler started well. Thought he controlled sort of the early rounds, but then after a few rounds, Fitzgerald just seemed to come back into it, more and more. And Fowler just seemed to gas and get caught pretty easily by these big shots from Fitzgerald. And then sort of the ninth, Fowler I thought was going to take him out of there, and then Fitzgerald came back in the 10th round and knocked him out and knocked him down. I know it was a quick knockdown, but he did well to get back up. But I thought it was a really good fight and really close fight. But I think the right man won.
Yeah, it's a fight it's a kind of fight that we don't get to see enough of when it comes to prospects, good amateur, like guys with good amateur pedigree when they step up. It's very rarely we actually get to see them fight each other. So I think everybody was quite buzzing about this one, and there was a bit of needle beforehand on social media which we'll touch on a wee bit later on. But I just thought the way that Scott Fitzgerald stayed composed, Anthony Fowler came out to start quick and try and just be overbearing, get him to make a mistake and he could get him out there. But I thought Scott Fitzgerald kept his guard tight, and I thought Fitzgerald's body work was superb, and I thought the way he just kept pumping that jab into Fowler's face all night. Fowler just didn't seem to have an answer for it. But as you say, you have to give Anthony Fowler credit, because in the end, after being, it was kind of becoming one-sided when it went into that ninth. Would you agree with that?
I would do, yeah. Fitzgerald was just coming back more and more into it, and Fowler didn't really have a reply. He kept trying to knock him out with these big punches, but as soon as that wasn't working, Fitzgerald was just coming more and more into the fight. And I thought it was a really great performance from him, because I didn't give him much of a chance before the fight.
Yeah, well, that's something we should touch on now, because I actually bet against Scott Fitzgerald in this fight. I had Anthony Fowler down for a stoppage in my betting line, and that was due to Fitzgerald missing weight. Was it in the third attempt, I think it was, when he actually finally made the weight. I just thought, there had been grumblings, he'd changed trainer, there had been grumblings, maybe he wasn't living the life properly. But I think he put a lot of that to bed. Right, mate.
Yeah, I did hear about that, because Fitzgerald, he took 3 times to actually make the weight, and he's got a decent record. He's undefeated, but he didn't have a lot of knockouts on his record. So I just felt Anthony Fowler would be a bit more experienced, the bigger puncher. He'd certainly be the winner at the two, but he'd never been in the deep waters before. And Fitzgerald certainly took him there, and Fowler didn't really have the answer. Him and Dave Caldwell didn't seem to really know what to do in the later rounds. But I'm sure he'll come back from it. But onwards and upwards for Fitzgerald next. Yeah.
Yeah, well, already they're talking about putting him in with Ted Cheeseman. Now that seems like a fight that makes a lot of sense, but that also seems like a fight that Ted Cheeseman will pick up second prize. What do you think?
Yeah, you'd have to favour Fitzgerald. I think the board have ordered that fight, so I think it'd be pretty decent fight. But going on that performance, I would say Fitzgerald would definitely be the favourite for that. I think Cheeseman will be found wanting.
Yeah, yeah. What I was also going to say was Anthony Fowler. He's had a couple of questionable in his first 10 fights. He's had a couple of questionable, victories in there. Ones where he could have been disqualified against guys he should have been blasting out. Now, I spoke about this last week about his temperament. After the fight, he was coming out and it sounded quite bitter, and I'm sure there was accusations and slurs through towards Scott Fitzgerald about maybe doping, getting down that route. Do you think that's just a case of Anthony Fowler being a sore loser?
Yeah, I do. Sour grapes, to be honest, because there's a lot of back and forth on Twitter, and some of the stuff said kind of crossed the line a bit. When you're talking about the girlfriend and stuff, there's no need to say that and get involved in that sort of stuff. So I just think it was an overspill from that, to be honest. And he was just, pretty gutted to lose that fight.
Just before we go on to who these guys can fight next, we've already discussed who Fitzgerald's fighting, but where Fowler goes, we should actually mention just how this fight was made and how it became such a big deal. I mean, it wasn't just two top prospects. I mean, it was built on social media, and it still annoys me to this day that some boxers do not have a social media, especially these young prospects try to break through, because that fight wouldn't have been half the entertainment or half the people watching it if it wasn't for the build up on Twitter. How big a part do you think Twitter's got to play in future matchups?
It plays a huge part, Only social media only increases the rivalry and gets everyone involved and find out exactly what's going on between these two fighters, and everyone can buy into that. Without that, you're just focusing on what happens in the ring. And that's not really how fights that are meant to be made are going to happen. So every fighter in and around British level, they should be looking to get a social media account and start calling out people, start calling out big names.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it kind of says a lot for British boxing the other night there when it was going to the cards. How nervous did you feel? Because I'll be honest, I was shitting myself. I thought that Scott Fitzgerald was going to get jobbed.
Yeah, I thought the same. Yeah, I thought they were going to give it to Fowler. I think one of the cards did, didn't they? But
yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I was pretty nervous. A lot of the cards recently have been pretty bad, so I was expecting the same, to be honest.
Well, the reason I brought that up is because one of the judges of that fight was Terry O'Connor, who judged a fight earlier on in the night, and we'll discuss that when we get to it. But I was sitting there and I was like, I don't know why I'm actually sitting here petrified. Why do I watch this sport when I'm sitting here expecting somebody to be cheated? It gets to you a wee bit. But I like looking through the British rankings. And just to see where these guys can go next. So we obviously know that Scott Fitzgerald has been ordered to fight Ted Cheeseman, which is a good fight, cracking fight, but I think it's going to be too soon for Ted Cheeseman. He's got a lot of adjustments he has to make before he's ready to fight somebody like Fitzgerald. But I was looking for where can Anthony Fowler go, and that was my question, and the one name sticks right out at you, and it's Frankie Gavin. Do you think that Frankie Gavin will be wheeled out to get the hype back behind Anthony Fowler?
I think that would be a good move, to be honest. Gavin, coming to the end of his career, he's been there and done it. So, if Fowler wins that one, then he's back on to building his career again. Be a really tough fight for him, but certainly a very, very winnable fight that Fowler can win.
Yeah, I was thinking that, and I mean, everybody knows Fun Time Frankie. He was back over in Spain there, and apparently, for what I heard, I've not actually seen the fight. He put a good account of himself across, but Frankie Gavin just has no self-discipline, and this is a sport where I'm quite a chunky guy nowadays. I can't lecture anybody on self-discipline, but I don't claim to be a professional athlete. Frankie Gavin does, and I just think that that's what Frankie Gavin is in his career. He's a name. That's all he's really got left, is that Frankie Gavin name that a lot of people still know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that he doesn't, he's never really had the discipline, has he? He's always been in a bit of trouble outside of the ring, but, I think it's definitely a decent fight to make. I've always liked watching Frankie Gavin in the ring, so all-action fighter, so... Yeah, I think it's a really good fight, and one that needs to be made. Hopefully, they can get that next.
Yeah, it'd be good. But let's move on to the fight that probably was the fight of the night. It was a bit of an action. brawling, sorry. It was a brutal fight to watch, and that was Robbie Davis Jr. against Joe Hughes. This was a bit this was a weird one, wasn't it? Robbie Davis's tactics are getting in and putting his head on Joe Hughes' chest and looking to fight on the inside when he was a much bigger man. I've never seen a guy give away such biological advantages. He's got natural advantages there, and Robbie Davis Jr. just refused to use them.
Yeah, really, really strange tactics, to be honest. Just try to fight him on the inside. Use your reach, use your skills and your weight and size advantage. But he didn't seem to be do that, to be honest. But you know, the 118-110 card was an absolute disgrace from Terry O'Connor. I don't know what that was all about, but as you say, that's boxing. That's what can happen.
Yeah, well, let's just touch it, because I was going to bring that up later, but let's just touch on Terry right now. How many more gigs is this guy going to get?
I don't, probably a lot more, to be honest, because nothing seems to happen to these bad judges time and time again. So I don't think anything's going to change. We keep on getting these decent level fights and big fights, and nothing's going to happen to the retrospective action or a ban or anything.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things. It's not just that Terry's an awful judge. It's that Terry's an awful referee as well. I mean, one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen was I was at a show in Edinburgh. I was at an MTK show in Edinburgh, and me and the boys were there, and I can't remember who it was fighting, but this boy was taking a pasting. He was taking it, was getting brutal, and the guy he was fighting was looking at Terry to stop the fight, and he wouldn't do it. And there was cries for people, for the audience, for the crowd, shouting for Terry to please stop it. And and I'm sitting there going, he's sitting there a couple of feet away for this absolute massacre. And this guy, I can't, just for the life of me, I can't remember who it was that this fight, but it was, Terry let this boy take about 2 rounds of punishment that he should never have got. And that night I was thinking to myself, if that was in another sport, you had somebody that incompetent, he would be struck off, he would be sent away down to the lower leagues, if it was football. I just don't understand why Terry keeps getting wheeled back out again in boxing, in a sport where if you make a mistake it could cost a guy big time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute disgrace if the fans are shouting out for the fight to be stopped and he's not doing it. Happens in other sports, and they're banned, or they're, as you say, in football, they're going down to the lower leagues. But it doesn't seem to happen in boxing. They keep wheeling these guys out time and time again. And there needs to be some sort of action by the board of control to get these guys off the cards and stop refereeing them or having as judges. But nothing will change, and these guys will keep on continuing to work.
Yeah, well, I thought the most ironic thing about it was, I mean, Terry obviously can score fights, because he judged the Scott Fitzgerald and Anthony Fowler fight, and he scored it perfectly. Or, maybe a bit close, but, you can see it, and you go, yeah, that's an acceptable card. You go, I respect that card. So why 2 fights before have you got, what is it, a 118, what was the score?
118, 110.
Yeah, that's it, 118, 110. Where did they pull that from? Because he must have gave Robbie Davis Jr. every single swing round and more. You know what I mean? It was a close fight, it was a hard fight to score, but I mean, how he can come up with that scorecard, I don't know. I do not know.
Who knows? Only Terry O'Connor knows that. Yeah, you need some consistency as well. If he's scoring one card correct, he needs to be showing them all correct, or in and around the right score. But it keeps on happening. Maybe there needs to be a radical overhaul of judges, or you get more judges and have an average score between between 2 or 3 of them. But yeah, something needs to change. I don't know what Terry O'Connor's up to these days, but just a bit of consistency and some correct scoring.
Yeah, definitely. Robbie Davis Jr., this guy always seems to get himself into a brawl. He seemed to unnecessarily get himself into a brawl the other night there, and I thought it should have cost him. Do you think that Robbie Davis done enough to win that fight?
I think it could have gone either way to me, to be honest. I think Joe Hughes put up a great performance, but he doesn't need to be getting involved in these brawls. Robbie Davis, just use your superior size and boxing ability, and he would have won that fight pretty comfortably. But he didn't, and he just got dragged into a brawl, which Hughes was more than comfortable to be able to do that. But yeah, I mean, very close fight, but could have gone either way for me.
Um, Robbie Davis Jr., with this style of his, the thing that annoys me with Robbie Davis Jr. is he can box. He does it in wee spells, and then just seems to, kind of lose his concentration and find himself sitting in the inside, maybe getting lazy. I don't know what it is, but it's very fan friendly to watch, and he's always going to get brought onto these big shows. So my question is that how much longer do you think Robbie Davis Jr. is going to have enough marbles left in his head to actually be put in the ring?
I think he'll go on as long as he feels that he can go on, to be honest. I think he can box pretty comfortably, but at British level. How far beyond that, I don't think he can go beyond that much, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, he's a decent fighter, all action style, good fan friendly style to watch. So, he's always going to be put on decent sized shows, because that's the kind of fighter that we want to see. He'll just carry on as long as he wants to be honest, as long as he can.
Yeah, I don't think that Joe Hughes loses any credibility. From Saturday night, I thought he made a great fight. It was fantastic action. Really enjoyed it. It got everybody interacting on Twitter. So it was great for Joe Hughes. I think that this lad can come back to this level, and he'll put in a good show for himself. But I think that Robbie Davis Jr.'s maybe put a bit of a target on his back. I was just looking at some of the opponents that he could end up coming out against. You guys like Hara Davis, Terry Flanagan, and even Lewis Ritson. And there, do you see any of them guys backing out a fight with Robbie Davis Jr. after that performance?
No, not at all. I think they'll fancy Robbie Davis Jr., to be honest. I think they know how to figure him out, and they just use their superior boxing skills and don't get dragged into a brawl with him. I think those guys will be more than enough to beat him pretty comfortably. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Turbo Terry Flanagan was the one that stood out to me. Terry Flanagan's always been a fighter I've liked, but I think he's let a lot of his career pass him by, and this could be the opponent he needs to kickstart his career, because I don't actually think Robbie is signed with Matchroom, so I think that's only a fight by fight basis that they fight the deal's got with Matchroom, so it's quite easy for Frank to maybe swoop in now and get Flanagan, but it's whether Frank wants to actually put his hands in his pocket for Terry.
Yeah, I mean that fight makes a lot of sense. Whether he doesn't see Flanagan at a higher level than that, he's fought the world stage for a number of years, but since the Hooker fight, he's kind of drifted off a little bit. But still think he's a great fighter. Certainly above British level, but that sort of fight is the fight British boxing fans, I'm sure would love to see. Real action style. Yeah, I think it'd be a great fight.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the big boys. Let's move on to Price, David Price and Cash Ali. This ended up a bit of a farce, didn't it?
It was a bit of a joke, to be honest. He was losing pretty much all the rounds, and Price seemed to be causing him more and more troubles. I didn't think it was a great fight to watch, but then to bite someone I think he bit him in the neck in the third round, and then obviously when they fell to the floor, they bit his stomach. It's just an absolute farce, to be honest. He just seemed to want a way out. And that's not the way to do it. And now he's been, suspended and probably going to lose his purse. And he's apologised now, but it was just a complete moment of madness.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to say. Yeah, I mean, he's looked there for a way out, but to me it looked as if David Price was starting to pull a David Price, and he was starting to breathe heavy, and he was struggling. Surely Cash Ali must have seen that in the ring and thought to himself, the second half of this fight's going to be easier than the first half of this fight. if I can just maybe pick up the pace, I could steal this. You know, his big opportunity on the big stage, and what does he do? He acts like a thug and starts biting people. You know, it was, you know, it's absolutely, it's not what this sport's supposed to be about.
Yeah, it's embarrassing to be honest. It doesn't give boxing a good name when he's doing things like that. You know, maybe he felt, maybe he obviously had enough punishment, and that's why he wanted to get out of there. But yeah, as you say, Price, I think in that fifth round did seem to be slowing down a bit. But you know, Cash Ali, he had enough, and you know, that's forever going to be in his record, and no one's really going to want to fight him now after his suspension ends. You know.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, who's going to what promoter's got to put Cash Ali on their show? Any big promoter anyway. Now, you know, he's a liability now. You know, if he'd have gave a good account of himself in there, you know, he could have been brought out for like young prospects to fight. He'd be a recognisable face, but now he's nothing. You know, he's nothing. He's had his big opportunity and he's blown it. You know, so. But let's move on to David Price. David Price now finds himself in a bit of an awkward position because I was having a look at the British rankings today, and the only person above David Price that wouldn't beat him easily is Dave Allen. You know, so Price has got to a point now where he actually has to start looking down the way, because I think that David Price is smart enough to stay away from the likes of like your Huey Furies, Daniel Dubois, Nathan Gormans. You know, these guys would they would take him to school, really.
Yeah, they would, to be honest. He called out the winner of the Lucas Brown Dave Allen fight, which I think is a decent fight for him.
Well, that's it. Allen is the only one that really steps out and makes sense.
Yeah, Dave Allen, very winnable fight, you know. And if he beats Lucas Brown, it just gives him a bit more kudos if Price can take him out. I think it's a decent British level fight, yeah. I think why not? But as you say, he only needs to be looking down because all the guys above him are gonna take him out. So maybe someone like a Sam Sexton, maybe, or someone at that level. But yeah, one of those two. I think that's the sort of fighters he needs to be taking.
Yeah, well, I think that I was looking at earlier on was the British rankings, and I took a screenshot of it. Yeah, I took a screenshot of it, and you know,
Danny Williams.
Yeah, you've got all your usual all your usual guys in there, and then you've got Danny Williams at 13th at 45 years old. What is happening to British boxing? Where are all our big heavyweight athletes? Where are these guys? You know what I mean?
Oh dear, that's embarrassing, isn't it? Danny Williams. Oh, didn't even know he was fighting, was he?
I know, you know, it's totally. I was actually shocked. I actually had to check it twice to make sure it wasn't like Danny Williams' son that was coming through.
That's just embarrassing, to be honest. What's he, 13th in the British level? I don't know what's going on.
13th, you know, he's one away from being into a position where he can be fighting for the British title.
Absolutely madness, absolute craziness. I don't know what's going on. We need to sort the rankings out for sure, to be honest. But
oh yeah. Well,
I don't think
they're
Price
not the
is going
only
to be
ones.
looking for him, though.
Yeah, they're not the only ones that have to sort out their rankings, but we'll go on to that later. But we then had Liam Beefy Smith versus Sam Eggington. It was a main event, but you know, it really wasn't that good a fight in comparison to the other fights in the night. It was painful to watch this one.
It was, to be honest. Yeah, Sam Eggington didn't look too good in there, to be honest. He just didn't have enough power to trouble Liam Smith whatsoever. Liam Smith was just walking through him and gradually just breaking him down, you know, piece by piece. Pretty comfortable win, to be honest, and took him out in the fifth. So, yeah, onwards and upwards for Liam Smith.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me, nowhere near it in skill level wise, but it reminded me a wee bit of Triple G and Kell Brook, in the way that, you know, I've never seen Liam Smith fight like this. He just kind of didn't care what Eggington was throwing at him. You know, I've never seen Beefy Smith fight like that. He was just walking. He was quite happy to take 2 and 3 shots to get himself into position to just start pounding on Eggington. And, you know, it was getting very uncomfortable to watch. And Sam Eggington does what Sam Eggington does. He butt down the gum shield and stayed in there. But, this lad's up at 154 now. These boys hit hard. He can't. Before he was messing about at welterweight. I don't know how he ever made welterweight, but he was messing about down there where they wasn't getting punched as hard. I think Sam Egerton's going to find it very difficult to achieve anything at 154. Do you think now Egerton's going to turn into that journeyman that he says he actually started out boxing to become?
I think he is, to be honest. I don't see him having any sort of future at 154, and if he's struggling to make welterweight, he can't get down there either, to be honest. So yeah, I think he's going to have fights in and around British level. I think that's about as good as he's going to get. It's a shame, to be honest, because I think Barry Hearn loves him, but yeah, I don't see much of a future left for him, to be honest. But yeah, onwards and upwards for Liam Smith.
Yeah, well, Sam Egerton has overachieved in his career. Now, we can't take that away from him. But, I mean, there is just levels now in the sport. And, when he get found out, he took a step too high at welterweight. Now he's down at he's at 154. He's kind of lost all his physical advantages. And now these guys are they're just a better quality than him. 154 is a very good division. And he was in there with a guy who hung in and put in a great performance with Jaime Munguia. Liam Smith is a very competent fighter, and I just thought very overmatched. And as the night went, I think that was the only one-sided fight that was on TV anyway.
Yeah, it was, to be honest. Yeah, Liam Smith, by far the bigger man, by far the bigger boxer. He's just outmatched, outclassed, and in every division, to be honest. Sam Egerton gave it his all. He did it all he could to hang on in there for 5 rounds, but the better man won, and he's a world class fighter. Liam Smith, he's former world champion, so he's been in there with the best. So yeah, Egerton, fair play, but sadly not enough. Now
there is rumours that the next fight for Liam Smith could be Kell Brook, which, if you'd have said this to me a couple of years ago, I would say that Kell Brook's a different level for Liam Smith. But now I think this fight would be an absolute cracker. And you know what? I actually think that because Liam Smith has been fighting consistently at a higher level, I would actually back Liam Smith to beat Kell Brook now.
Yeah, I would always, for a number of years when this fight's been talked about, I always thought Kell Brook would be far, far too much for him. But see, now I think Liam Smith is probably by far the better fighter at light middle. Kell Brook, what's he up to now? We're not seeing much of him. And, Liam Smith, he's been in there with the best at light middle. So I think this would be a really great sort of, world level domestic British fight. So yeah, I can't wait for this fight, if it happens, to be made. As I have Liam Smith as the slight favourite going into it,
Yeah, definitely would be. And you know what? I actually think that Eddie would spin this in a way that he could get this on a pay-per-view, and it wouldn't do astronomical numbers, but I think Kell Brook's a big enough name still that, I mean, Eddie would, it would work out both ways for him, no matter who won. If Liam Beefy Smith wins, then that's him right back in the mix again at the top of the division. If Kell Brook won, then he can claim that, he's ready for a world title shot, you know what I mean? So it makes sense.
Yeah, and then both have matchrooms, so the fight should be easily to be made. As a pay-per-view fight, I'm not sure. Maybe with a decent undercard, maybe, I suppose so. Or, a fight on an undercard of a Joshua fight, maybe. But, yeah, I think it's a really good fight. If Brook wins it, he's back on the world stage, and likewise for Liam Smith. So yeah, I think it's a really good fight, and not too sure what to expect from Kell Brook at light middleweight at the moment, to be honest, because we're not really seeing too much of him. But yeah, if he wins that, then he's certainly up on the big stage, and maybe he gets the Can fight after that. Who knows?
Just to talk a wee bit about Kell Brook, do you think it was the big paydays that's now been detrimental to Kell Brook? Because since the Amir Khan fight's been off the table, we don't hear from Kell Brook anymore, do we?
No, I think sort of the downfall's been since the Golovkin fight because he had the eye damage in that fight, and he's obviously made a lot of money. And then he had the eye damage in the other eye after the Spence fight, and he made a decent amount of money for that fight too. And now we're not hearing so much from him. So I think he's made all the money that he needs to make for the rest of his life and his family's life. To be honest, he's pretty comfortable. So doesn't need to be forced into the big fights that he once needed to be made. So yeah, he's pretty comfortable for where he is, and but I think he needs to be moved on at light middle because he's not making much of an impression there at the moment. So he needs to be involved in some big fights.
Yeah, well, this is where my point of view on it is. Kell Brook has been paid millions of pounds for his last few fights. A fight against Liam Beefy Smith, he's not going to get anywhere near that. He'll be lucky to get half of what he's used to getting paid. And I think that's why when Amir Khan took such joy in going to fight Terence Crawford, because he wasn't giving Kell Brook that fight. And I just think that it's quite obvious now that Kell Brook is not interested in boxing. It's just a top up at a retirement fund.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's split with Dominic Ingle as well, so that's not too good. But yeah, I think he's just trying to get the biggest fights for the biggest paydays. But it's not. The problem is he's not a big commercial name, and he's quite a white middle. He's pretty untested, so the big fighters are not really going to give him the chance. At least at welterweight, he did have a title for a good number of years until Spence beat him. So it's going to be difficult for those big fights to be made, to be honest. But hopefully something can happen, and that fight with Beefy can be made for them.
Yeah, well, we know we want to see Brook and Beefy. What about poor old Sam Eggington? Do you want to see Sam Eggington back in the
ring? I'm not too sure where he goes from here, to be honest. If he can make welterweight, I think he should, because at light middle he's just given up a serious size advantage. So I think I'd like to see him down there at sort of a British level. Decent fighter, overachieved as you say over the years. So yeah, that's where I see him. But the time will tell.
Yeah. Last week I says that this card had great potential. It's a cracking card on paper. Did it deliver?
Yeah, I thought it did. I thought it was a really good, for a Saturday night fight. Yeah, I thought it was a great card. Just for a non-pay-per-view. Thought really enjoyed it and thought it was really good.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It was a fantastic card. It's been better than a load of Sky pay-per-view cards. It was fantastic action, great matchups. I really enjoyed it. I hope hopefully Sky knew or putting a wee bit of pressure on Eddie to get the better cards made, because the card before that as well, that was it last week with another Sky card, that wasn't too bad either. Had a couple of decent fights on it, but anyway, let's move on to some of the news now. Some of the news that's been breaking this week, and one thing that stuck out for me, and it's been annoying me all week, is that the WBA has moved Conor Benn up to 6th in their world rankings, and that is without Conor Benn even fighting. What do you make of this?
Pretty embarrassing, to be honest. He hasn't even fought. I think he's fighting on the April 20th card. The Dave Allen Lucas Brown. But yeah, what is it? 13-0. He's a relative novice in the fight game, so he needs to be getting his head down and moving up the rankings. But unfortunately, he's 6th. So it's kind of like the similar position to anti-DR with the WBO. Get a high ranking without actually fighting anyone. But you've got Josh Kelly at 7, and then you've got Broner at 8. It just doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever. So the WBA need to sort out those welterweight rankings, because that's an absolute joke, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember back. I think it was a card in France, where he was actually fighting. I think he was only fighting in a 6-rounder, and he was floored twice in that 6-rounder, and he should have been beat.
Yeah.
I just thought that He's fighting 6 rounds. You're not. You should not have any kind of ranking at world level with fighting the, See, until you're up fighting 10 to 12 rounds, that's when maybe you should be breaking into the 15s. Conor Benn, as you say, he is a novice and it rips at him. You feed him to any guy in the top 20 in the world and they will take him apart. That's my belief on it. And what I want to ask you now is, the WBA, they have a duty of care. As anybody really does, any governing body does, they have a duty of care to people. And then, they're putting Conor Benn in a bit of a position here. You know what I mean? There's a total disregard for Conor Benn's safety. If that boy's overmatched, there's, the repercussions could be quite severe.
Yeah, you're putting your guy's health on the line if you're putting him in with a big heavy puncher. You could be in serious trouble. As you mentioned, that 6th round in Monaco, Pinot floored him twice. I think he still won the fight, and then I think he won in the rematch over 10 rounds pretty comfortably. But his problem is he gets dragged into fights far too easily. And if he does that against a better fighter, he will get taken out in the early rounds. So he needs to work on his boxing skills. Tony Simmons, and just concentrate on fighting guys in and around British level, and then move on and up from there to European and Commonwealth. I wouldn't even be looking at the WBA rankings if I was him, just concentrated in and around that level.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Guys should be winning their area levels, their Celtic titles, their British titles, European. That's how you progress as a fighter. That's what you do your learning. You don't get a world level ranking. You could be called. Conor Benn could potentially fight for a world title. And this lad is pretty much fighting at what area level? The very same as Anthony Yard. Now, do you think that these false high rankings hinder careers?
Yeah, 100%. They need to be, because they're going to be pushed into fights that they shouldn't be involved in. And they've just got a target on their back, and guys are going to think, right, if I beat him, then I'm going to move up to 5 or 6 in the WBA. And then I'm going to push on from there. And that's not going to serve anyone any use whatsoever. So the rankings need to be sorted out, but this is always a problem, not just the WBA, across all of the organisations. And he needs to be held back if he's at 6. Ranked number 6 in the WBA. Josh Kelly's 7, and he's only 8-0. So these rankings are a complete joke, and they need to be matched accordingly and forget about these rankings. To be honest.
Yeah, you've got to think about who's advising these kids. Because if it was me, I would be telling them to kind of distance themselves from that as much as possible. If I was advising Conor Benn, I would be in the media saying, I might be ranked here, but, I shouldn't be. And don't be expecting me to fight anybody round about me in them rankings because I'm not ready for them. You know what I mean? I think that these guys that are advising Conor Benn, Conor Benn, does he think that he's the 6th best fighter in the world?
I hope not. He better not be. I think part of the problem is as well is they're winning these WBA Intercontinentals or WBC Silvers, and then they're getting ranked off the back of that, which these belts don't actually mean anything. So that's part of the problem as well. But these fighters, they like to have these belts as well, but they don't actually mean anything. And on the back of that, they're getting good rankings, which is not right. So there needs to be some proper matchmaking involved. These guys forget about the ranking. He's under Matt Sherman, he's with Tony Simmons, so he's got good guys in his corner. But forget about the rankings and focus on the British level.
Yeah. Now the IBO, they use an algorithm to work out the rankings. Now it's not going to be perfect, but it seems a lot fairer than the rest of the governing bodies. Do you not think so? Do you not think working things out by a mathematical equation, a point system, is much better than just winning a trinket and you're automatically ranked high?
It seems to be the better way to go about it, to be honest. If there's some sort of mathematical logic to go behind, then that would definitely be the way to go. But it's the IBO, so not really a sort of the legitimate boxing organisation. But I definitely think it's certainly the better way to go about the rankings, to be honest, than the current way of the other organisations. Definitely.
Now, the IBO has always been a belt that I have always looked at as, it's a prospects world title. It's not something for Anthony Joshua to hold on to. It's maybe a guy that might never get to that kind of level. But it's a title for, you would call it maybe championship level guys.
Uh-huh.
Guys that want to get to you at the top of the WBC. I think it's like, that's how I always view the IBO. But do you think with the way that the WBA, WBC, WBO, and IBF, do you think the way that they're actually turning fans off with their rankings, do you think there'll ever become a point where the IBO will be seen more legitimately than it already is?
I don't think so, to be honest. I think you're always gonna focus on those main, government bodies, and the IBO will just be lingering there. Not to say that the IBO champions have not had, top of the class fighters over the years being IBO champions, because they have, and Joshua's got the IBO belt at the moment, but it's not really thought of as prestigious as the other organisations. But as you say, if they don't sort out the rankings, then would they look to the IBO? I don't think they would, to be honest. But I just think you'll see, other guys who might be ranked further down but are better fighters. They'd be jumping up to world level. Maybe the experienced guys that have lost a couple of fights. They'll just be ranking ahead of these like Conor Benns and Josh Kellys, etc. I think that's what would be happening, and the rankings would be meaning less and less.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it wouldn't be boxing if anything really made sense, would it?
I know that's it. That's what it is.
But let's move on because we're kind of dragging this out a bit. We're on 42 minutes already.
Well,
Well, Chris Eubank Jr. is on trial with Virgil Hunter. Now, do you think that could be a chemistry that actually? Do you think they two could have a chemistry? They could match up.
I think so. To be honest, Virtual Hunter, top trainer. And the good news is that Eubank's not taking out his dad, or Ronnie Davis. So he's going out there with a clear head, just focus on his boxing. Out there with one of the best boxing trainers in the world, out on his own. So I think this is a great move for him, and I think he's going to, if he does stick with him, because he's not sure if he will yet, but if he does stick with him, then he's going to go. He could go on, leaps and bounds. But we just have to wait and see, I suppose. But Virgil Hunter trains some of the best fighters there's ever been, so Eubank can only benefit by listening to him.
It's see the way I'm looking at this is Virgil Hunter's had guys like Andre Ward in there. Even the now he's away working with Amir Khan, getting him ready for Terence Crawford. These guys live, breathe boxing. You know what I mean? They will go into the gym and they will do what they're told, and Virgil's in control of it. The thing that's always come out of the Eubank camps is that it's a bit of a circus. It's all about they know better and how they're victims, or they know like the dad knows better or the son knows better. They don't want to learn and sparring. I don't know if I could see Virgil Hunter putting up with that, because Virgil Hunter doesn't need that.
Yeah, I mean the difference now is that he's going out there on his own, so he doesn't. If he listens, it's always the problem with him. If he listens to his trainer, then he will benefit from that. So because his dad's not got out there with him, that can only benefit him. And hopefully he does that. And he goes in leaps and bounds, because he's always had problems with trainers before, but Virgil Hunter, great trainer. So yeah, I think it's a great move for him.
If you're Nate Vasquez right now, how are you feeling? Because you have just brought out the best performance of Chris Eubank's career. We've seen a lot of the schoolboy errors, he's kind of corrected them to an extent. And your very next fight, you read in the paper that Chris Eubank Jr. is away to train with Virgil Hunter. How do you think Vasquez feels in it? Do you think it's a bit harsh on him?
I think so. He said he might bring Vasquez back, so it might not be over, but if he sticks one, or I can't see Vasquez coming back. A great performance from Eubank in his last fight against De Gale. So yeah, Vasquez must be gutted, but maybe Eubank, didn't give him any much credit for that win, and he thought it was all down to him. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, well, that's the thing with the Eubanks. Nobody really knows what they're thinking. But let's move on to something else. That it really started. This was last week's story, but it's kind of rumbled on into this week's, and it's an awkward one. It's an awkward one to deal with. It's an awkward one to put your stall up on, especially for men. But it's Pulev Kissgate stuff. It's a massive commotion over this, and I just want to know your feelings on it. Personally, I'll give you mine first. I think that obviously Pulev was wrong. I mean, you're in 2019, you can't just do that. I don't care if it's your friend or no, you can't just do that. But it seems to have been blown right out of proportion. It kind of felt like a public apology for Pulev should have been sufficient. Or one day, not too long ago, that would have been sufficient. Then, Pulev makes a crazy statement refusing to apologise. Which seemed a bit, unprofessional. There's got to be a point where professional comes before athlete. And I think if he'd have just, goes like, what, I'm wrong, I shouldn't have done that, I accept that people might be offended, then this could have all been blew away and under the carpet. I think Pulev's made this a lot worse on himself than he actually had to.
Absolutely. If he had just come out and apologised, I think it would have been not as bad as it is now. But he shouldn't have done it. It was wrong. Now he's apologised. Let's move on. But he's suspended in California, and she's going to take a legal suit against him. So we'll see what happens from that. But wasn't there a video of her at the after party as well, with Pulev's team, which didn't look too good for her as well. But
it didn't kind of match up with her press conference. Playing, it's just it's so mad because it's like this press conference seems so contrived. It was then she came out and it was this massive thing where it just feels like that kind of felt like that was for a financial gain when really all two fucking normal people should be doing. That should be a phone call and saying, listen, I was out of order, I shouldn't have done that, I'm sorry. Two adults should be able to sort that out between them without getting lawyers involved, surely to God.
You would have thought so, to be honest, but with the stuff going on in the news, this happens time and time again. So she probably, her agent probably got on to her and said that we can make a few quid in the back of this. So let's have a press conference and let's make some money. But he's apologised now, so let's hopefully we can forget about it and move on. He shouldn't have done it; it was wrong, but he's made a mistake and he's apologised for it. Let's move on.
Yeah. Well, let's just finish up with the news. That it looks like Usyk is going to be fighting Carlos Takam in Chicago. That's a good opponent to start off your heavyweight career, isn't it?
It is a good opponent, yeah. Takam's a big man. I heard there was the delay in relinquishing the WBA cruisers because they weren't sure how he would do it at heavyweight. So if he doesn't perform well against Takam, then he'll be dropping back down to cruiser. So we'll see how he gets on against Takam because he's a pretty big man, 17, 18 stone, so he's going to have the weight advantage. But I think Usyk will, superior boxer. Hopefully he takes him out, and I can see him taking him out in the middle rounds. But certainly a good fight to begin with in the heavyweight division.
Just how important is it that Usyk doesn't bulk up too much and kind of keeps keeps himself nimble and keeps that speed on his feet? I don't. Do you think that if he tries to go up to 18 stone or goes up to 17 stone, it's not going to work out very well for Usyk?
I don't think he will, to be honest. I think he'll be coming in at sort of 210, 215. Trying to keep the speed and, keep him at range, use those fast hands, and try to stay out the way of Takam's big shots and break him down over the rounds. And I think that's what he's going to try and do to a number of heavyweights. So, if he comes in at, 17, 18 stone, that's not going to work out well for him. And he could get involved in a brawl, and might, gas out, he could be in trouble then. But I think he's got too much of a boxing IQ to do that. And I think he'll be coming in at a quite lightweight for heavyweight.
After this fight, Carlos Takam's a great fight. He's been top 10 for years now, very respectable opponent. But Usyk's going to find himself with a problem after this fight, and there's no really any in between Takam and the top three. Do you know what I mean by that? There's no... That's the problem with the heavyweight division. There's such a big gap between the guys at the top three that, once he beats Takam, it's kind of... That's you're ready to jump in there with the big boys now. That's the way I feel, because I see him beating guys like Dillian White and that. As you say, he's got too good a boxing IQ for them. He would have to go to the top level after this.
Yeah, and I think he will, to be honest. I think the Joshua fight, I think that's what they're looking at next in sort of October, November, because the WBO mandatory is the next one to be called. So I think that fight will happen if he comes through Takam. I think that's just the gauge of how well he's going to do it at heavyweight. And I don't think many fighters in between sort of the top 3 or 4 will be looking to fight him. So, I think he'll be jumping straight in there with Joshua.
Yeah. Well, I saw us just hitting the 52 minutes mark, and I've got to admit, we did superb there, rifling through the last few topics. So let's just finish up where we always finish up, and it's must see. And I have got an absolute cracker this week. I found a 3-hour documentary on YouTube. It was about Muhammad Ali and what's his name, Howard Cosell, and their interviews. And it was some of the most intriguing boxing TV you ever see. It's this Howard Cosell. His interviewing style is so bizarre, but it's amazing. He doesn't just ask the questions that the fighters don't want to answer. He gets right up in their personal space. He literally stands 2 inches from them. The heavyweight champ of the world, he's in there annoying them with questions, and he's literally got his head on his chest. It's amazing. I loved watching it. It was such a great insight, and it kind of showed up boxing reporting now. There was none of this partisan stuff. It was kind of just, this is the news, this is ask some awkward questions. And Ali, that's why they two have got such memorable interviews, because, Ali loved the challenge, I think, for Howard Cosell.
Yeah, I think the difference is that back then the reporters were actually good friends with the boxers, and they would actually travel around to the fights together with them, whereas, now they're pretty distant, and there's that many news outlets now that everyone's looking for the next big story. But I think they were good friends, Ali and Cosell, and Ali, the best of the best, the greatest there ever was. And it was really good to see, because he needed to be challenged, Ali. Can't have it as all his own way. He always had the great pattern, the great statements to make, but, someone needed to ask him the hard questions, and that was certainly Howard Cosell,
Yeah, there was one thing I noticed in it when it showed you, obviously, the build-up to the Sonny Liston fight, the Liston 1 fight, and it was the young Ali in there, and, he's got all the tongue, all the bravado. When it was coming up to the rematch, I've never noticed this before, Ali, I don't want to say he looks frightened, but, he doesn't, he's not the usual Ali, the stereotypical Ali. He's quite one-word answered, and, he seemed a bit nervous. This is just before they fought the second fight, which obviously ended in a bit of with an anchor punch that some argue did and did not land. But, it seemed Ali didn't seem himself there, and I thought Howard when he was asking them questions, you could see maybe, I don't know if Ali was maybe feeling the pressure of being a world champion now, the expectations were on him, but he didn't seem himself in it. But again, I would definitely recommend it. It's on YouTube. Just put in boxing documentary Ali ABC, because I think the interviews are for ABC TV. So, but definitely watch it. It's brilliant. I'll share the link later on.
Just for 3 hours long, yeah.
Just yeah. Do you know what? I've actually still got 45 minutes to watch, and I've been watching it for over a week now. So
Sums it up, doesn't it?
yeah, man, it's some brilliant TV. It really is. It's if you love Ali like I love Ali, and I think everybody does, not just boxing fans. It's good seeing. If you didn't have Howard Cosell there, you wouldn't have half of the TV gold moments for Muhammad Ali. That's the way I look at it. The two of them were a great foil for each other, and then for young aspiring reporters, I mean, Howard Cosell's interviewing style, his techniques is superb. It's someone that's died now. It's amazing. He doesn't. As I said, he's fearless. He's fearless. He's not saying stuff to just toe apart the line. He's actually challenging them. And that's what reporters should be doing.
Absolutely, 100%. Instead of just asking the normal boring questions that most reporters ask these days, but Howard Cosell, one of the greats, going to go down in the boxing Hall of Fame, and it's just great to see these guys, having a great relationship with the best boxers that there ever was, because I think that adds to the spice as well, and made it, memorable for us to watch these great interviews as well,
Yeah, I always remember Gordon Stratton was saying to Chris McClung. Chris McClung now works for the BBC, and he's in Scotland. He's there, like top sports correspondent. But when he was just a young lad, Chris McClung says that Gordon Stratton literally tore him apart in his own interview. And after the cameras went off, Gordon Stratton says, "That'll teach you a lesson." He's like, "Don't ever come here with like pre-prepared things." He's like, "You need to be prepared to think on your feet." And Stratton used to make sure he tested these young reporters and all that to make them better at their job. And it gives you a different insight into things. I like stuff like that. Maybe it's just me. But what about you, Craig? Have you seen anything this week?
Yeah, I watched a little documentary on YouTube. You always hear Tyson Fury going on about the lineal heavyweight champion. So I watched a little documentary just about the history of the lineal heavyweight championships over the years, so I thought it was quite good. We started off with John L. Sullivan back in 1892, and just went through the years about what happened, and sometimes a fighter retired, and then another fighter would pick it up, and went on to win. But some great names over the years, like Max Baer and Jack Dempsey, James Braddock, and Joe Louis, and then of course Muhammad Ali, 3-time lineal champion. And then even now, there's only been sort of, I think 4 lineal champions in the last sort of 20 years, with Hassan Rahman, Lennox Lewis, and Lennox Lewis again, and then Vladimir Klitschko, and now Tyson Fury. So I thought it was just really interesting just to get a bit of background into a bit of the history of the greatest boxers in the heavyweight division. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, the lineage really should be the pinnacle, and I don't know where and when it happened, but it isn't anymore. And it really should be, because it's the one that us fans should be recognising as that's the man, that's the guy. But it just seems to have lost a wee bit of the glitz, and I think we need to get back to, the lineal champions don't come around a lot. I don't think people respect just how hard it is to become a lineal champion.
I think people are all about the belts now, which is sad. But if Wilder and Joshua fight, they still wouldn't be the lineal champion. They have to wait for Tyson Fury to, for one of them to beat Tyson Fury. So, but I thought it was pretty interesting. Not necessarily the greatest fighter in the heavyweight division was, lineal champ, or had a legitimate, belt like Shannon Briggs, before he beat Riddick Bowe? Michael Moore? No, George Foreman, sorry. and then Lennox Lewis beat him from that. But I just thought it was really interesting just to get a bit of insight, and there's all these sort of different areas that's gone due to retiring, etc. But I think because Vladimir Klitschko was the lineal champion, even though he didn't beat Lennox Lewis, and then because of Tyson Fury beat Klitschko, and then because of his problems, it's not really got the same respect as you say, which it used to have in certainly the history of the boxing over the years.
Yeah, I think you can always tell the guys that understand it. Your guys like Usyk, you could tell it meant the world to him to pick up the lineage. And Terence Crawford was another one because it's
Yeah.
rare. It's becoming more and more rare in boxing. As you say, how often do we get unified champions fighting each other? It doesn't really happen a lot anymore.
It doesn't happen a lot, yeah. Well, as we always say, the big fights just don't seem to be getting made at every weight class. So, and the lineal is certainly even extra special on the top of that. And, you'd like to see more Ring Magazine belt championship fights as well. I think it's a great belt to see. But, these fights don't seem to be getting made. But hopefully, one day they will be. But, I just thought it was pretty interesting to see all these great champions over the years that hold that championship,
Yeah. But Craig, as us just went over the 1 hour mark, it's been quite a full show. It's been superb considering we didn't have any previews today for next week. I think we've done really well there. So thanks very much for coming on, and it was a pleasure having you. We'll probably have you back on again next week if you're free.
Yeah, that'll be great, Stephen. Thanks very much.
Right, mate. Well, thanks very much, and this is the end of the show, guys. So thanks very much for listening. Catch you later.